Welcome to Pen and Reel Comics. I'm your host, Uncle Joel, and today we're talking about Hard Boiled by Frank Miller and Geof Darrow, with colors by Dave Stewart. Now, for a number of years, Frank Miller was considered one of the best comic book writers in the industry. Whether you're looking at his seminal runs on Daredevil and Batman with Batman Year One and The Dark Knight Returns, or his creator-owned work, such as 300 and Sin City, Frank Miller established himself as a reliable writer of gritty and brutal comics. As for Geof Darrow, I'm not as familiar with his work. Pretty much the only thing I know him from would be his creator-owned book Shaolin Cowboy. But if you have seen any of his art, then you know that this man is known for his attention to detail. And just looking at any of the images of his work, I can only imagine how much time it takes to do a single image or a single page. And so even though I'm not really familiar with the books that he has worked on, he is still one of my favorite comic book artists. So you can imagine what a perfect pairing Frank Miller and Geof Darrow must be. So Hard Boiled is very much a book for adults. There is a lot of very graphic violence and quite a bit of random graphic sexual imagery. But if you can handle that, you're in store for quite a ride. So the main character looks like your typical detective, dressed in a nice suit with a tan overcoat, carrying a large gun. The book starts off with him facing off against a car that is shooting at him with a ton of built-in guns. And not only is it shooting at him, but it's hitting him. And yet, he seems able to take it. And then the car crashes right into him, drives him through the wall of a building. And we wind up seeing our hero wrapped in barbed wire, filled with shards of glass, arms and fingers broken, pretty much on death's door. There should be no way he could be alive. But somehow, he makes it out. He winds up getting picked up by an ambulance, and they take him to Wilford Home Appliances. And it is here that they hook him up to a ton of insane machinery and bring him back to life. It's a pretty insane start, and from there, the story only gets even more crazy. And then we quickly see signs that his personality may have been modified in the process of repairing him. Because when we first meet him, he says that he is a tax collector, and then after his repair, he identifies himself as an insurance investigator. I don't want to get too much more into the story, because I do recommend you check it out. But it's a story with all kinds of twists and turns. Now, there are a number of things that are done here that may not be too surprising these days, but considering that the comic came out 30 years ago, I would say it holds up extremely well. And even if the twists and turns are not that surprising, they're still good and they're still done well. But let's just speculate here. Let's say that you can handle the violence and you can handle the nudity, but the story doesn't really interest you too much. Well, I would say that the art is worth the price of admission alone. Even if you just skipped over the story and you looked through every single page, every single image is extremely well done and very interesting. You could spend a ton of time just looking at every detail fit into these images. There are a ton of little Easter eggs fit in throughout that are just fun to look for. Such as at the beginning of the book, where you see soldiers who have decals on their armor. And these decals look like the Nike symbol, but the I is changed to a U so that it says nuke. Or another page that has a billboard for auto repair shop Pep Boys, except they've changed it to Pup Boys, and each of the three main mascots for Pep Boys are changed to have dog-like faces. Or the box of Rice Krispies that is changed to be called Mice Krispies, and it has a mouse on it that looks a lot like Mickey Mouse. There's just all kinds of things like this spread throughout the book that you could spend a ton of time just looking for those details, and that alone would be worth the price of admission in my eyes. Now, I don't think this is one of Frank Miller's more groundbreaking works, and I have seen other work by Geof Darrow that is much more impressive, see Shaolin Cowboy, but this comic is what a lot of comics fail to be nowadays, and it's just good fun. If you can get your hands on a copy of this book, I highly recommend it. But keep in mind, and I do have to reiterate this, it is definitely intended for adults, not for a younger audience. I picked this book up fairly cheap on Comixology, and I'm really glad that I did. I think this is the most fun I've had with a comic in quite a while. Yeah, that's about all I have to say without going into more spoilers. Be sure to hit like and subscribe, and be sure to come back next week for more comic book reviews. And until next time, I'm Uncle Joel saying, stay tangible.